Back again, Spreaker, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, we'll just hope that this one gives us the full 45 minutes here.
Yeah.
If we even need it.
I mean, maybe these are more digestible chunks.
Maybe it's a good thing, you know? Maybe we just give up control.
Yeah.
We just stop trying to control
Right.
everything.
Because in weightlifting you can't control anything.
You can control some stuff.
Like what?
You can control how you train.
Okay.
But again, it's all about training this thing that I just call your training.
Yeah.
And it's not about training you. And then by the time you get to the platform, it's about trusting in this thing that you call your training, but it's not about trusting in you.
Yeah.
And this is really interesting to me because there's a lot of stuff in life that's just like that. There's a lot of stuff that you have no control over, and you just have to
let go.
And there's no, and it will be torn from your hands whether you want it or not. Whether you want to let go of it or not.
Yeah.
It's going to be gone.
Yeah.
And the ability to experience this in weightlifting has, I mean, for lack of a better word, it's changed my life in just how I'm able to deal with this, like, in real life.
I'd like to say that you're training your ego. And the reason for that is because anytime you're doing an accessory movement, anytime you're doing a drill, anytime you're doing something to help your weightlifting, it's something you perceive to be an issue. Whereas it could just be some kind of technical little quirk that you have where it's just, I just happen not to move my feet, but that's not a big deal, but you perceive it to be. So you focus your time and effort on that with drills and accessory movements to correct it. So you have your ego kind of molding what you believe your lifting should look like.
Ego is such a great word for it. There's so much there. Donnie SHANKLE, you posted this video on my Facebook page, and Donnie SHANKLE talks about this weightlifter that he knew who he said had a huge ego inside the gym, but he didn't know how to leave it there. Mm-hmm. And I guess now he's in prison, and he was kind of a risk taker, and he would just do all these insane things.
I think he was in prison for murder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, geez, yeah. That's a pretty big ego thing. Yeah. But that's such an interesting thing because you go to the gym and you just feel invincible when you hit these weights. But then, when you're like out with friends, how do you keep yourself from being that same invincible person? How do you pull back on the reins and just, how do you be like more humble, right? You don't want to go up to the bar and be humble in the gym.
Right.
Humble in a certain sense of like, I didn't do this yet, I'm not this good yet. You want to like, make sure that you're keeping everything in a particular light. Some people say like visualize yourself like completing the lift, and this is an important thing. But you really haven't completed the lift yet. You need to be humble to the point where I will work so hard to get this. You know? Because if you accept the fact that like you've already made this lift, you're just not going to give it 100%. So there's a certain humility required there. But you don't want to be quiet. You don't want to be shy. You don't want to be kind of reserved. This isn't the place to be reserved.
But sometimes it can come off that way to the outsider. Like if you were to watch myself lifting, and maybe even you're very quiet. You're very kind of calm. At least that's how you come off.
Right.
In your head, I mean, you're ready to just start.
Internally, right. It's like, if someone bumps me or something, I'm just, batshit, just total, cacophony of ego, really.
Right.
And that's like a good place, to have that. It's a necessary thing in weightlifting, at least. Like, man, I'll like yell and shout and do all this crazy stuff, and it's like other people in the gym. I don't care if you have some weird thing about people yelling in the gym or whatever. I'm going to do it because I need to get this bar off the floor.
Right.
I need to get this thing over my head.
Right.
And I just don't care about you right now because this isn't the time and place for me to care about you. This is the time and place for me to focus every single thing I have into throwing that weight over my head.
Right.
And this is where your ego belongs. This is where that just that complete total. Like this thing that I've worked so hard at, this like training thing that I've built up after all these years, all these months in the gym. This is the thing that is so good that it's going to throw this weight over, and I put total and complete trust into it, and it's mine, and I love it, and I'm so proud of it. And here we go, right? But then you go hang out with some friends or whatever.
Right.
And how do you keep that ego? How do you keep that from just throwing itself at other people? How do you hold back? Like, do you ever have this problem? I have this problem all the time.
I noticed that. I don't know how I come off to other people, but inside of the gym, like you said, you develop that ego, and I feel like I'm a completely different person inside of the gym. I took a lift the other day, I missed it, the bar like rolled into me, and I just, I kicked it. I just kicked the bar and threw it off the platform. I would never do that outside of the gym. I would never just take something that bumps into me and just chuck it down the street. But I feel like I'm highly introverted outside of the gym. Like the gym is almost an expression of just everything that's kind of bottled up outside of it. So I really don't come into that issue, and I think it's a lot because I don't do bodybuilding training. So I don't have that physique that almost creates an ego outside of the gym, which is a good thing, right? The better you look, usually the bigger of an ego you have.
That's a pretty good point. We were talking in the deleted show about
the lost tapes.
Yeah. We were talking about, which looks better, a 6-pack or someone holding 300 pounds over their head? And I think someone holding 300 pounds over their head looks better. But see, here's the difference. A 6-pack you look at every day.
True.
You see it when you walk in you are constantly being reminded of your own physique. Whereas a weightlifter, maybe once a month you'll get that 300 pounds over your head. Yeah. And so all the rest of the time...
But no one else sees it.
That's right.
Really, no one sees it.
You're the only one. You might put it on Instagram.
Yeah.
And maybe some internet people will click a heart button, but they weren't there. They didn't see all of the blood, sweat, and tears that went into it, and they only get to see this result on the internet, which isn't real. It's just they just see a video of it. They don't. I don't walk into a room or I don't walk onto the beach with 300 pounds over my head. But a bodybuilder might, and so certainly that's been able to, the kind of, I look more like a refrigerator than an actual person who goes to the gym. Right. People would ask me like, Marty, did you used to work out? Like, did you used to go to the gym? I'm like, well, yes, but I also still do a lot. Yeah. I just,
and along with that, besides not having the aesthetics of bodybuilders, you accumulate these injuries that just make you feel a little more just broken down outside of the gym, a little more beat up, and that's not necessarily uplifting in and of itself. I know when you have tendonitis and you're sitting there just kind of aching, you don't feel like you're gonna, rule the world.
That's a really interesting thing. So every so often I get dragged out of my house and go to one of these like high energy, techno music bar dance club things. Yeah. And I do not have a fun time at them. But I look around at all these other people, and they're jumping, and they're dancing, and they're whatever the hell, they're screaming in each other's ears. And I think for them, I don't know, because I don't have a lot of friends who really enjoy this, who I talk to about this. But I think for them, that's kind of an outlet for this kind of, just built up energy and stress and all this stuff that happens over the course of their week or whatever. And for me, that's the gym, Yeah. For me, the gym is the outlet.
So that's almost where they express their ego. is at these dance clubs.
Yeah, see that sounds right. I mean, man, you ever see me at one of these things? I'm just terrified.
Right.
I'm trying to sit by myself, or like just trying to sit in a corner off somewhere. Like I don't, man, I'm not good at dancing. I look like just all this stuff, and I don't want to hit on girls at some stupid thing. Like this is all like this is just not my thing. I'm just very uncomfortable here, and I just really dislike it. Like my idea is, you go out, you get some beers at a quiet bar with some friends, and you just relax and take it easy. There's none of this like aggression is just necessary if you're able to train it out of you, right? Because there really is a lot of stuff that just kind of builds up. It just piles up. I have kind of a laid back kind of attitude about stuff, and I'm like never stressed really.
Yeah.
Like, I get stressed every so often, and it's not, but always at the end of it, it's like, it's not like the end of the world.
Right.
I'm able to kind of I'll just get through this thing, and eventually, like, nothing ever like requiring therapy or some kind of, like serious medical thing. I just don't get stressed about stuff. But man, like I have my demons, I battle shit, and it's like I go 4 days without like going to the gym or something. I'm a wreck. I'm a mess. I'm a complete you do not want to be around me. It's like just, I'm looking for punching bags. I'm looking for, just things to just throw at people and be like, look at how much better I am than you.
Yeah.
I mean, not like physically, right? I just mean, I'll be just not like fun and easy.
Yeah.
I'll just be so like pent up and angry. Not even angry, just prideful. Like that's it, right? Like I have to argue with you and make sure that you know that you're wrong, kind of thing. Whereas like in general, man, I'm just like usually just so much more laid back and so much nicer. And I think like that's like it. That's like the thing that weightlifting gives you, is it gives you this outlet to just let go, throw everything you have at it, and you get to create something beautiful out of it. And then in real life, you learn that this is a good fundamental human skill. This is a good thing to be able to do, is to just relax, let go, and trust in your ability to just, be, right?
Yeah. I think you touched on something important. You were talking about relaxing, and I think that's one of the keys to being a good, even a decent weightlifter, is understanding how to wind down outside of the gym. You can almost relate it to like a lion that's kind of just lying in the shade. They seem kind of very helpless, but as soon as it's time to hunt, man, they're going full speed, 100%. And that's kind of how the bar is. The bar is always going 100%. If you have a bad day, it's 100 pounds is going to be as heavy as it's always going to be. It may feel heavier, may feel lighter, but it's giving 100% of everything it has. And if you aren't just turned down, relaxed, and ready to hunt when you're in the gym, that bar is going to land on your head. Yeah,
that's a great image. I think, man, that like lion image, I think that there's a huge component of living in a city and being a guy that are at odds with each other. And I think living in a city, you don't have many physical opportunities to just be a guy, There's no running in the woods. There's no like fishing. There's no like camping, being kind of, out in the elements.
Yeah.
There's no need to do heavy labor because you have a credit card and you can just swipe this thing and somebody else will do it for you. And I think, oh my gosh, I would be a disaster if I wasn't doing something like weightlifting and I was living in the city. Everything's just too easy. Everything is just done for you. You have a dishwasher, you have a clothes washer, you have you can get food delivered to your house every day of the week. And you can live in the air conditioning and you can have the heat come on in the winter. There is nothing that challenges you, nothing that makes you rise above yourself. Yeah. And growing up in the country, there was always stuff. You know, there was always, you got to go out in the snow and get 50 armloads of wood in the middle of the night because you got to keep the fire going.
Right.
You got to, walk the dogs because they just need to be walked. And I don't care if it's like pouring rain. They need to be walked. Like, you go and you do that. The car breaks down, you get out, you change the tire, whatever it is. If something breaks, you fix it. If something needs to be done, you're in charge, you do it. And that's like a lifestyle thing that it just always stuck with me, and it's always been really uncomfortable about like being in the city. And yet, weightlifting gives you this ability to just be the only thing that, like, the only thing that's going to lift that bar is you. Right. If that bar's coming off the floor, it's because you did it. No one's going to deliver you a 5 kilo PR. You can't get on. I mean, you can't go on Amazon.com and order one. You can't. You just can't buy it.
And I think that even goes back further to the saying that the greatest program, if not given 100% effort, doesn't really work, and the worst program, if you believe in it and give it 100% effort, will work. Programs won't give you results. Supplements won't give you results. It's literally that. Just go out, do whatever you have to do, and just give it as much as you can for that one moment.
Yep. You have to forcefully go out there and take it. And if you have any other things that you're just trying to work through, if you have any other kind of hesitancies, if you're just being a bitch about it, really, frankly, to put it, just frankly, it's just not going to do anything.
And that's why percentage-based programs, I don't believe in them. I don't believe in them. I'll say it.
Gee, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do once my wrist heals up, but I'm just so excited to snatch again that I can't even hold it inside of me. And so this is in fact this is a thing that I've been dealing with lately, is I can't snatch. I can't clean and jerk. And how am I going to, I go in the gym, I squat, I power lift, I do these stupid pulls because it's the only thing I can do. And they don't give me this same kind of, they don't give me this same outlet that I can just let go. Yeah. Because powerlifting is all about holding on, squeeze the bar tighter, hold on to it tighter, push, grind, drive yourself through this hell. Right. And you're in control at least in my kind of experience with powerlifting, which is not very much, right? Yeah. Most powerlifters lift a lot more than I do. They pull a lot more than I do. Maybe for them, they have kind of the same mentality, but I don't think it's ever going to be quite as far.
I think you're 100% correct. It brings me back to a time when I first started weightlifting, and I had a coach, Chelsea Kyle, and I was working with her, and I had a good strength base. But as I would try the movements, I would be so tense from powerlifting. And she said, what was your background before this? I said, powerlifting. And she says, you look just like it. Your traps are tight. Your arms are tight. You're gripping this too hard. Let go. Relax. Just move. It's not so much about how much force you can create, but how you create that force.
That's right.
And kind of like you were saying again, with like squats and pulls, with weightlifting, you created this ego that can't be satisfied with a squat. You can fail a squat and you pull the weight off, put it back on the bar, and you take it again. And there's no change in attitude. There's no change in how you feel. It's just you're almost going through the motions.
There is no reaction. I find that's the real issue. There's an initiate, but there's no reaction, and that's The reaction is the satisfying part of it. Think of like any conversation you've had with just a person like you just met, right? Yeah. Like the initiation is, just this kind of like, hello, how are you doing thing. And there's kind of a moment of, like this little bit of like awkwardness maybe, or just kind of like hesitancy or whatever that is. But immediately afterwards, it's just this, it's this back and forth of just, ideas and thoughts and experiences, just this like sharing, this just kind of reaction to the other person, and they have a particular energy and a particular kind of way that they communicate, and then you get to respond to that, and you the two of you like create this thing. If it was just all initiation and just all this force fed kind of monologue soliloquy type stuff, geez, conversation would suck, man.
Nothing's worse than a forced conversation where you're just doing the leading and the other person is just like, yep, nope.
And you just talk.
Nope. You just talk. You're just going through the motions.
Yeah, and the other person tries to talk over you, and you just talk right past each other. It's like you're looking. It's like you're standing back to back.
Right.
You're not even talking to each other. You're just kind of slamming stuff down, and that's how I view powerlifting.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, that's
You're
it.
gonna get a lot of haters for this, Marty.
Well, no, like I love powerlifting, and I mean, dude, like I love lectures. You sit there, and the guy goes up to the podium and he says, "Here's a bunch of stuff, and I'm just gonna go all the way through it, and we're just gonna get through this." And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I mean, there's totally nothing wrong with that at all. But that's there is no reaction.
Right.
There is no moving around the bar.
Yeah.
They're just moving the bar. There's no back and forth. There's not this like instantaneous, just kind of unconscionable reaction of a movement, like there is in a good conversation. So no, I mean I wouldn't. I'm not saying this to hate on powerlifting.
Yeah.
I don't hate powerlifting. I think it's super cool, right? But geez, like weightlifting.
Yeah, it's once you've gone black, you can't go back. It's
is
that.
Is that what that is? Okay, so what about like has weightlifting ever made you do something differently in like a real life situation because of this idea of giving up control?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't want to say it's weightlifting, but everything under that umbrella. So the people involved with weightlifting, the kind of the lifestyle involved with weightlifting. Once you kind of adopt that and you start, watching all the videos and start following all the athletes and start, lifting yourself, developing your technique, getting coaches, it molds yourself into someone that is completely different, and it carries over into every situation you're faced with and you're involved with. And now, like a specific situation, it's kind of hard to recall. I don't know if you have.
No, there's too many that just kind of like, well, no, that's not really a particular example. It's more of just a view.
Yeah.
It's more of a frame of reference. It's more of a shifting your view. Being able to react to things differently.
Well, this podcast was birthed out of weightlifting.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's a concrete example for sure.
My blogs, pretty much everything I do now as kind of like an outlet of expression is because of weightlifting. Before that, I was very much I'm going to go out, I'm going to smoke a lot of pot, get really drunk, and just kind of chill out and play video games. And instead of kind of expressing myself, it was more just kind of, just go through the motions. And,
feel things as opposed to create things.
Exactly, right? And man, it feels so much better to be the creator, for sure.
Yeah.
Even if people don't really appreciate it as much, man, you just get that kind of self-satisfaction.
So here's something that I've been thinking about a lot, kind of to answer my question back at me. I have this like insatiable control, just kind of like obsession in like me in particular. Not like to control other people, but like I need to be in control, right?
Yeah.
Like I won't get on a bus, Yeah. I mean, it's not like I won't get on a bus, but given every other option, I don't want to get on the bus. I don't even like people that I just like kind of don't know driving me, right? Like driving me to places, because I'm like, well, if I want to leave, I'm not going to have my car.
Right.
So I am just so totally obsessed with this idea of like, I'm in charge, I'm independent, I can do all this stuff, and I'm not going to give up 1 ounce of control. I'm like, if something if something is going on where I'm going to have to like, okay, like I'll let you, take the reins for just a moment. I'm going to like fight like hell. I'm going to back out. I'm going to do all these things that just, deprive myself of whatever it is, because I hate giving up this idea of like control, but I also hate leading, right? You know, like I'm not like a natural, like obsessive, like I need to be in charge kind of person, because I kind of assume that everybody else is like me. They hate giving up their control too.
Right.
So where am I going with this? Every so often, which as it happens is more and more often in my life, things will just happen. You have no control over them, and like despite the fact that you have you can hold on as tight as you want to it, this thing will be ripped from your grasp. It will take your hand with you if you don't just let go. I hate those things. Yeah. Anything where I can't just like say it. Yeah. Anything where I can't just be like, look, this is what's going to happen. Yeah. And your input is going to be such that like, is going to relate to you. Yeah. Right? For example, like I am going to go to the bar. Whether you come with me or not is your decision. Like, like I'd love if you came with me, but you don't have to. I'm just going to go there, you know? Well, every so often it's not like a thing like that. It's like, your roommate moves out, for example, right? And you're just like, man, like I can't like, rip Taylor out of his car and, lock him in the house kind of thing, right? And it's like here's this like big like life-changing kind of event that I have no control over, and without some kind of practice of just giving up control, like man, I would be a total mess, right?
So you think this situation would have affected you more?
Well, I don't know. Again, I'm pretty laid back and easygoing, right? And that might not even be like the perfect example. Mm-hmm. There's probably better examples of just kind of like happenstance circumstances, things that just kind of happen where, people come into your life and they leave and you have no control over it, and it's like, well, that kind of sucks, but it's this like sense of like detachment that's just so important to practice, because without it you're trying to just grind through everything, hammer through everything, and when control is taken from you, because it eventually just is. Yeah. You either give it up or it's taken from you.
So basically you're saying it's kind of the same analogy as like trying to hold your breath. Eventually, if you hold your breath long enough, you'll lose it.
That's right. Yeah. It's a lot like that. It's very much a lot like that. And in weightlifting, to use a weightlifting example, if you try to like grind out a snatch, like it doesn't even mean anything,
You're not
right?
going under
like there is no grinding it out. Right. You can't force it. You don't control it. All you are is there, again, this goes back to this idea of I'm watching a video of myself and I'm like, who is that guy, right? Yeah. I didn't do that lift. All I did, I was just there. But I just watched the lift happen.
And that's interesting you say that, because even when you are focusing on certain cues, or you're trying to control how you move, every time you go to initiate that movement, it's the same feeling. It's the same loss of control every single time, whether it's with the bar or whether it's with 100%, and all you do is you go back, reflect on that, and say, did I do it properly? No, I did not. And I don't know why I didn't do it.
And a lot of times when you do it improperly, it's because you were holding on.
Yeah, exactly. You
were holding on. There are times when you pick up the bar and you go, holy shit, I can't believe how light that is. I can't believe I'm actually doing this. Yeah. And you're just moving, and you're just in this like kind of, again, this dreamlike sensation of, I can't believe this is happening right now. Yeah. This is so insane. This is impossible. Those are the times when you've just thrown it all away, and that's when you've let go.
Yeah.
And that's such a good feeling. But you also have the choice, like, you know, in life and in weightlifting, you have the choice to just like try to like keep this stranglehold grip on everything and try to keep all these pieces from moving and try to just, you know, put your arms around it and hold it back and try to, you know, and those are the times when you pick up the weight and you're like, okay, I have to throw the weight. I mean, right?
Yeah,
It just,
right.
It feels off. It feels wrong. Nothing feels right. You're consciously thinking about every little part of it, and you're trying to hold on. You're afraid to go through with it. You Clark the weight. That's what holding on is. When you Clark, it's because so Clarking a weight is, of course, for the non-weightlifting folks, it's when you go to initiate the pull, and it comes to the part where you have to put yourself under the bar, and you just give up.
I'll even go a step further to say, and we've all done this, where you almost pretend like you're going to go under, and you kind of like throw it over your head, and you don't even get through the bar, and you just gonna throw it forward.
You don't commit to it.
You don't commit.
Yeah, you don't trust yourself.
Fun fact: that's named after Ken Clark. He was actually a really good lifter.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's kind of funny. That's kind of funny. I always wonder where that came from.
Something else. I hate to like just keep hitting you with like weightlifting, like relationships to weightlifting, but I was squatting the other day and I was widening my stance, trying to go through these cues, and because you can't let go during squatting, it's just such a slow movement that you can think the whole way through. Mm-hmm. I put bands around my knees to focus on just kind of pushing my knees out, basically. And because I was doing a new stance, you know, I had so many cues going through my head. I walk back with the bands around my knees. I go to squat, and because I had that feeling around my knee, I completely lost every single thing I was cueing myself, and I had no clue what I was doing. It's almost like I just completely blanked on how to properly perform the movement. And sometimes I think even when you're trying to refine technique, whether that's with a squat or a snatch, sometimes just when you grab the bar and you have all those cues, there's a time to just get rid of them. Clear your head, empty the trash bin.
No, for sure. And we've been, you know, maybe being unfair to powerlifters here, just to kind of, you know, draw comparisons between powerlifting and weightlifting. But yes, there is. I mean, admittedly, even with a squat, there is a certain sense of unconsciousness that needs to happen. I would say it's comparable to weightlifting, but it's not really what we're talking about here.
It's depending on how you squat. Because if you have like a dive bomb, I don't know if you ever seen James Cool. But he literally hits that bottom and just, you can't think during that. But if you have that wide kind of suited squat where you really descend with like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you can cue whatever you want during that time.
And they always say control.
Control. I don't know what control means.
Hold on to it, right? Like make sure that you're the one moving this weight up and down. And I guess for them it works. I guess for them it works. And for me it doesn't in weightlifting. In weightlifting it doesn't. You just can't hold on to these things.
Right.
It will be ripped from you. You will lose the weight. You'll Clark the bar. You'll just be miserable. But there is such elation in just letting go. Yeah. There is such a tremendous sense of like just this accomplishment. Yeah. The fruition is only capable when you just let go. You can look at yourself like that strange, you know, creature doing that lift. Like I can't, like, who is that? You know, who is that doing that?
And it feels like magic. Like when you are able to completely let go and during a max attempt, and you do your dynamic start to begin the pull, and then the next thing you know is, wow, I caught the weight overhead. And it was solid, and it felt really nice. And I don't know how I did it, but it happened. And to me, just when you're sitting in the bottom of the snatch, you can't beat that. Like some people say it's when the bar feels like kind of like it's just sitting in air and you're more like a gymnast moving around it. I think it's actually when I catch the weight overhead.
It's like magic. It's like falling in love. Yeah. That's like what it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's just this thing that you have no idea. And I mean, that's actually a pretty decent analogy there. It's this thing that, you know, you don't really have any control over. You just kind of we're at the right place at the right time, and
Yeah.
you know, maybe sure you shaved or something, right?
Yeah.
But like, there's not a whole you know, controlling methodology about doing it.
Right.
It's just that you've worked at a certain thing for a certain amount of time, and then it just kind of happens, right?
Yeah.
You know, and weightlifting is just falling in love over and over again, over and over again.
I think that's a beautiful explanation for actually anything in life. You kind of just work. You don't work towards an end, but you kind of just build this thing that just happens to be able to respond to situation after situation. And I don't know how I did it. Like, I don't, you know, college senior, I don't know how I got here, but you know, I'm going to graduate. So it's like, I just responded to every kind of situation that I came into from day to day to day. And eventually it accumulates into this total that's just like, all right, you know, I'm cool with it.
Yeah, you know, I mean, it's just like this. Like every great journey is just a series of steps. You know, right? You don't think about, you know, getting to the finish line or whatever. I guess a marathon runner would be able to talk more about this. It's just that next step. It's just that next step's the only thing that matters.
And but after that, you'll begin to realize when you hit that end, it wasn't about that, because the journey's still going. I mean, when the journey never ends, that's what it's about.
Yeah, right. You know, there's always that's one of the remarkable things about life, and the Greeks had a really great understanding of this. They would talk about human excellence, and they would say, like, I'll be perfect when I'm dead, or I'll be I'll be the best when I'm dead.
Yeah.
And their sense of human excellence was this like ability to do, you know, the ability to properly do, and the perfection of human character insofar as it can be perfected. You know, this journey towards the virtue, you know, the virtuous life.
Just to clarify, is that you say it's the ability to do? Now, is that building on some concrete foundation of this is how it's done properly, and you need to build towards that, or is it just something that's ever evolving?
I was thinking more in the sense of like freedom.
Okay, because I was thinking more of like an act, like performing like some kind of...
But performing an act is a freedom, right?
Okay, yeah.
You know, you being able to squat 400 pounds makes you more free than if you were only able to squat 300 pounds. And how paradoxical it is that the freedom is only obtained by a slavery at the gym.
Okay,
you know?
yeah.
So it's this you know, the Greeks had a very interesting thing about that. I like to think of, you know, like this like human excellence as this just lifelong endeavor, and that's what's cool about weightlifting, especially as a, you know, non-pro, especially as someone who's never going to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
You have to just think of this as something that helps you in all these other areas of life, and they make you a more complete person, and they help you create a thing and perfect a thing that is beautiful in and of itself, and is able to reach into other aspects of your life, and in some ways just infect all the other parts of your life into this, you know, more perfect harmony of human virtue. I
think kind of going back on that, the Asians have this idea of like spontaneity being kind of like, I mean, it's not like the most sought after. I'm not going to say virtue, but most sought after trait. But it only happens of like itself. You can't try and be spontaneous. So when you're talking about doing something perfect or creating some kind of excellence, it's only when it's not contrived. It's just when it's a spontaneous effort, like weightlifting. The best lifts are going to be the ones that are the least thought about and the least kind of oriented towards a certain goal. It's just like, I'm either going to make it or I'm not. Just go.
Yeah.
Just go.
Yeah.
Just move, baby.
You just let go of the reins. And, you know, we live in this, like, expert kind of society.
Oh, yeah.
This kind of elite society of... I mean, you've seen these like life pro tip things on the internet, you know.
Oh, relationship coaches?
You're doing everything wrong. You are doing everything wrong, from eating an apple to washing your hands.
Right.
Let the experts come in and show you how this is actually done. Or oh my gosh, like the life coaches or whatever, like these like relationship coaches. Have you heard of this crap? It's like, you know, here's the, you know, perfect, scientifically, you know, whatever proven things of stuff to say to a girl to make her like you.
Right.
And it just, like what? There is no necessity for perfection.
Right.
It's a goal. It's a lifelong pursuit, and you should ask the experts about things, right? If an expert weightlifter came in and said, "Marty, would you like me to train you?" Well, yeah, of course, absolutely. But everything you do does not need to end with some kind of perfection.
Right.
You don't need to date a model.
Yeah.
You don't need to drive a Lamborghini, and you don't need to go to the Olympics.
Yeah.
This is not stuff that you have to be the absolute best, most kick-ass to show all those other people up. This is not something that's about perfection.
Yeah.
It's about it's about helping you reach that perfection that you are meant for.
Yeah, you're capable of.
That's right. That's right.
Because if you're always trying to reach perfection, it's never going to end. Right?
You won't even try. That's my concern. It's this is why G.K. Chesterton says if a thing is worth doing, it's worth doing badly.
Right.
Because otherwise, you just won't do it. This expert obsession of everything has to be done perfectly.
Yeah.
And if you don't go to the Olympics, you're just wasting your time. All this does is you wind up on the couch watching Netflix, and this is your life now. You have no interest. It's the difference between making music and just consuming music. Yeah. I know so few people who know how to play instruments anymore because it's they can play a song, and even I think about this. Back when I used to play instruments is, I would play something and I'd be like, this just isn't as good as what I can find on the internet.
Well, I think, and it comes back to that ego thing. It's like you have that ego all the time instead of just while you're doing that one activity. Instead of just having that huge ego while you're weightlifting, and you start taking it outside of the gym, it's going to affect everything. Something interesting you were saying about the dating a supermodel. Some raunchy little saying is like, even Joe Schmo is sick of having sex with his supermodel wife. You get sick of something after a while, regardless of how great it is.
There is nothing flawless.
Right, yeah.
I mean, there is nobody flawless. There is no person that's going to complete you. There's no car that you can drive that you're finally going to be just done and happy and satisfied with. It's just all about that pursuit of excellence and making you, the better version of you. There's that's an interesting thing. I used to really be super self-conscious of was there'd be people at the gym who were stronger than me, right? And I'd always have to think well, yeah, but I'm probably smarter than them, right?
Yeah.
As though there's somehow all these points associated with being a person, and you need to have more points than them, or else you're not going to be happy. And I think it's this ego thing, right? When you see someone stronger than you at the gym, you shouldn't give up and say, well, I'm not that strong, so I'm just going to give up and just not even going to try. And on the other end of the spectrum, you shouldn't just try to tear them down to get to your level. You should glorify in their bask in their glory. That is beautiful how strong they are. Just be so happy and just filled with this fraternal pride for them. But you should also aspire to that, in every sense.
That's funny you say that. I remember I stopped snatching for a while, and you were getting freaky strong. I mean, you snatched 230 or something. And that was the motivation for me to make that comeback. Start hashtagging train like Marty. I'm trying to get strong. And you have to aspire to be the best, and not necessarily to reach some end, but just because it's going to help you continue that journey. I mean, if you say, well, I want to stop when I squat 300 pounds, it's well, what now? I mean, what are you going to do?
That's right, yeah. I want to stop when I'm dead.
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. I'll stop getting better as soon as I'm dead.
I think that's a pretty good way to wrap this podcast up, and it looks like we got the full time.
Yeah, good. And we got some time to go see Ryan Davis smash 6 for 6. He's going to hit state records, and he's getting best lifter. Let's do this, Ryan.
All right.
All right, man.
Thanks, guys.
Here we go.